I'm Robert Knowles.
And I'm Richard Simpson.
And today we're going live with an interview with R&R. And today we're going to interview Richard, because Richard was in the Navy for many years. So why don't we start at the beginning, Richard, and tell us about how wonderful basic training was.
Oh, basic training. First time on an airplane in my life, I'm going to San Diego, California in March of 1989.
Did they at least give you a big plane?
Yeah. There were three of us going to boot camp. All three of us, none of us had ever been on an airplane before. I was amazed that the armrests were still on that damn. Thanks, Bird of Prey. I'm amazed that the armrests were still on the seats when we got there. And then they put you in a line and proceed to take all humanity away from you.
Ah, yes. Well, there's that.
The next day they shave your head.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, yeah.
So from what my family tells me, and I don't know, but on Canadian bases, there's a sign at the door saying "Take off your boots." Do they have that down there too? If you don't take off your boots, you go really bald, and if you take off your boots, they leave you a little hair.
Yes, they just. It was just. And then you go. They assign you to a company. I was company 125, and we were actually one of the few companies in boot camp that were sponsored by an active duty sea command. It was the USS Blueback SS 581, a diesel sub out of San Diego.
Oh, wonderful.
The last diesel sub in the United States Navy fleet.
No, there you go.
And when we all got escorted out to the ship or to the boat to see it, because submarines are considered boats.
Yes.
When we all went out to the boat to see how tiny a submarine was, somebody asked what the extent of their deployments were, and the person guiding us around said, "Well, we go to San Francisco for 2 weeks and we come back."
Oh, there you go. That's a short trip.
I could deal with deployments like that, I think.
Yeah, that's a short trip.
And then you go through all of your Navy classes that you have to know to be a sailor, like handling lines. And ironically, we never learned how to tie knots.
Really?
I would have thought that would be...
That'd be so important, wouldn't it?
I would have thought so.
Oh, yeah, you'd think so. I'm just going to take a quick second here, because I didn't do this at the top of the show here, because, yeah.
You went right into it.
I was trying not to call myself a different name. Welcome, Max World Entertainment, Bird of Prey 5, Captain Trek, and Parrot Head. Welcome to the inaugural first live stream. The other one was a test. It was at 6:30 in the morning, and we've somewhat made a reasonable decision that it didn't count.
And you can see that the budget is really high on our production because we're interviewing one of the hosts.
Yeah, well, there's that.
But
there's that.
Thank
All
you.
right. So they don't teach you knots, but they teach you how to line things.
And one of the things that we're all in this classroom, and the instructor starts with, "No matter where you go in the Navy, you will handle lines." Okay. Makes sense. Tying up ships is probably a real good idea. Somebody in the back of the room behind me. "Yeah, you? Yeah, I'm going to be a DP." And the instructor goes, "Well, DPs don't count. They're not in the Navy."
Whoops. And now for us non-military, what's a DP?
DP was a job rating in the Navy. It's, I should have grabbed this while I was over here. Hang on. Navy stripes all look like this when you be a petty officer. I was a second class eventually.
Okay.
Your rank, and then this right here is your rating. That is your job in the Navy. So if you're in blues and whites, I can look at your uniform and tell you what you do for a living for the Navy.
Okay.
This, Quill and Gear, was data processing technician. I say was because in 1997 they merged them with Radioman. Now they've done away with Radioman, and now they're all called information technology specialists.
Ooh, fancy name.
Seems to me we went from data processing technician back to information technology. Why did we go to Radioman? Anyway, so DP is data processing technician. They basically do data entry on the ship.
Okay.
And other facilities. We'll get to that in a little bit. I'm seeing something in my camera. I'm sorry. Anyway, so in boot camp, you do all your little training things, and locutus fur. Sorry. Anyway, and then you go through all your physical training and your parade training and that kind of thing. And you go and get all the shots you're going to need because you're going to be a sailor going overseas. So they give you, inoculations for everything. And fortunately, it was the inoculations that got me out of one of the worst things I hear from other people who are in the military, the gas chamber.
So what exactly does that entail?
I don't know.
Why were you lucky to get out of it?
I didn't go to the gas chamber because I had yellow fever. So one of the inoculations was yellow fever.
And you were the lucky one to catch it. Yay.
And one of the things in boot camp, and I went to boot camp in San Diego, was if you were out by yourself, if you were in a company with your company, you could just march. If you were by yourself, you had to double time, which means run.
Yes.
Now, the Naval Training Center, Recruit Training Center, San Diego, was a very large place. All the barracks were on one side of the river. Everything you needed, galley, phones, stores, medical, were on the other side of the river.
Convenient.
Now, to get out of any particular training, you had to have a medical chit, which means you had to go to medical, which means you had to double time it from one side of the river to the other to go to medical. Now, if I've got yellow fever, that makes it fun. But if I could double time my ass to medical, I wouldn't need to be getting out of training. That was my logic, but they kind of frowned on that.
Which logic or your logic?
My logic.
Okay.
So one of the things that they made us do as a data processing technician is normal recruits get a 4-year term. Okay, 4-year term. Sign me up. Oh, you're going to be a data processing technician. You need to sign up for another year. Okay. What does it normally mean? Well, it normally means your school's really long. Okay. Cool. Long school, San Diego. I'm all for this.
Yes.
5 years. Graduate from boot camp on a Friday. Following Monday, I go to the other side of the base where my A school is and find out that my A school is exactly 4.5 weeks long.
Oh, lovely. But you signed up for a whole year because of it.
Well, I come to find out that the reason they signed us up for an extra year is because no DP served more than 3 years at sea. So they can't transfer you from your first command to another if you don't have any time to do it.
I see.
So I ended up signing up for 5 years and no big deal. And I got my first set of orders to the USS Theodore Roosevelt. And I arrive in Norfolk, Virginia on the 24th of May of 1989 and find out that the ship's not coming back from its first med cruise until the 31st.
Oh, nothing like timing.
So while we were waiting for the ship to come back, a buddy of mine and I went out to Virginia Beach and actually saw the ship coming back.
Oh, lovely.
So we reported on board and everything. And when ships come back from a major cruise like that, they spend 30 days in home port, and then they go to the shipyards for overhaul and refit. So my first cruise on Theodore Roosevelt was down the Elizabeth River to the Norfolk Naval Shipyard at Portsmouth, Virginia. If there is a place closer than hell on earth than Portsmouth, Virginia, I would love to see it.
All right, so we're going. All right, we're here.
And
so how did they pick which ship you end up on, or is that just kind of random?
it's
Or
kind
you
of
have
random.
some say?
They give you 3 choices of orders normally. And my first orders, because we had some financial problems, my wife and I at the time, they decided I couldn't get a top secret clearance. So they had to issue me a new set of orders. And they gave me 3 choices: Theodore Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, and Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, well, that's definitely giving you options, isn't it?
Yeah. And I wouldn't trade the time on TR for anything.
No, obviously not.
But
so now just a question. For the first 3 weeks, how many times did you get lost?
Oh my God.
Because we'll find out later that once you're done your service on that ship, it's a boat.
Yes.
It's not a big ship, it's a boat.
It is
but I'm pretty sure the first week or so you're going, where the fuck am I going?
Well, they teach you how to read the bulkheads. Every space on the ship has a yellow thing called a bullseye, and it tells you exactly where you are on the ship.
Okay.
In relation to forward and aft, up and down, side to side.
Okay.
And they just told us that the mess decks were at frame 180 on the second deck on the port side. So you just keep wandering around until you see a 180, and then you find your first ladder down. Then you realize that it doesn't go down because, well, there's a hangar deck in the way.
Oh, darn.
So you wander down to the hangar deck, and then you find out that, well, the hangar decks don't have bullseyes.
Oh, shit.
You start looking at signs above the doors and go, oh, that says 185. That sounds like it's bigger than 180.
I have gone too far.
And you go down. You find a ladder, you'll go down. And then you see glorious steak and crab legs on the mess decks.
Yay!
For 2 weeks.
Oh. Well.
One of the things they forgot to tell us in Indoc is that on the opposite side, on the starboard side, there's another mess deck that serves hot dogs and hamburgers.
Oh, well, that would have been helpful.
Yeah. It was in Indoc on the ship that you learned a couple of very important things. One, if you see an orange sign on a box that says danger 4160 volts, don't touch it.
Well, yeah, that's probably very important. Otherwise, it's a shocking experience, I would imagine.
As the instructor put it, if you go inside that box and you touch the wrong thing, you end up dead. DED. You don't even have time to spell it right.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's helpful information to know.
And then the other thing,
go in that box and touch things.
And then the other thing that you learn is that no matter where on earth you go, you are usually no more than 3 miles from land.
Well, yes, there is that. It's
Okay.
a long way down to land, but there is land down there.
Yeah, there is. So we end up with the shipyard, and they sent me off to fire watch, which means I get to watch welders with a fire bottle. Make sure they don't set shit on fire.
Oh.
You know, setting fire during a shipyard's probably bad.
Just slightly. Might cost, the taxpayer a little bit of money.
And you learn where things are on the ship even better, because then they send you places like the O-15 level. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a carrier.
Not up close and personal, no.
No, but if you look at a picture of a carrier, it's important to remember that the flight deck is the O4 level.
Oh, boy.
Hangar deck is the first deck. Everything
Yeah.
above the first deck is an O level. Everything below it is another deck. My shop was on the fourth deck. My berthing was on the third deck. Okay.
Okay.
Water line is at the separation point between the second and third deck.
Okay.
I had a fire watch on the O-15. Now, looking at a carrier, if the flight deck's O4 and there are 3 sets of windows on the island, they are O9, O10, and O11.
Well,
It sounds a little less than 15.
just a little bit. So you're a little bit high up in the air, are you?
You know that crossbar on the mast?
Yeah.
That's the O-15.
Oh, well.
Richard's afraid of heights.
Well, I'm pretty sure that was a fun experience.
And hanging on to the side of a mast with a 60-pound fire bottle was not the funnest thing I've ever done in the world.
No, I wouldn't imagine so. That strong gust of wind must have been cursed at a few times.
And it's at that point you realize that the water is 240 feet below you.
That will hurt if you hit the water from 240 feet above you. Yes.
Yeah. So
Water ain't so soft when you fall from that height.
water ain't so soft when you fall the 65 feet off the flight deck.
Well, there's that.
And then you go back and you do your cruises, and you go to foreign ports like Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
How is that a foreign port? I'm just curious.
And on the ship, everybody on the ship below E4 gets to do something called mess cranking. And that means you get to serve time in, I guess they call it KP in the Army.
Okay.
Mess crank. And my division, the S7 division on board the ship, automated data processing. We always did our mess cranking in the chief's mess. So I had a choice. I had 3 choices. I could cook for the chiefs, I could wash dishes for the chiefs, or I could go clean their berthings and collect their laundry. I did a lot of dishes for 90 days.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And then we went to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. And we went to Trinidad. And that was a beautiful trip. Until we found out they didn't want us.
Oh, well, why wouldn't they want a massive aircraft carrier?
Well, it's not the aircraft carrier that bothered them. It was the nuclear reactor that ran the thing.
Well, why would that be an issue?
Yeah, we went there in the middle of their environmental protection week.
Well, that would be an oversight.
And it went over so well that the week after we left, they had a coup.
Well, these things tend to happen.
And what made it worse was this was in July of 1990. And a big hurricane, I don't even remember which one, had hit in 1989 there. And because of the size of the carrier, we couldn't pull pier side. So we had a 40-minute boat ride from the ship to the port, or to the pier, through all the shipwrecks from the hurricane from the year before.
Oh, well, that must have been very reassuring. Leave big boat for little boat and then sail by boats that sunk. I'd be like, can I have the big boat, please?
Why do I want to go to shore? Oh yeah, it's Trinidad. Beautiful, beautiful place. Oh, I love Trinidad. My first trip to St. Thomas, I learned that 2 eggs and a pina colada do not make a good breakfast.
Probably not.
Particularly when you follow them up with pina colada in almost every bar all the way around the island.
Yeah, that may not make you very friendly with your bunkmates.
They poured me back onto the bus. We go back over to the island because it's a big mountain, actually. And we get on the little Liberty boat to take us back to the ship, the 30-minute ride out to the ship. Oh, wait a minute. There's an officer's gig coming. We have to wait. Okay. How long are we going to wait? 10 minutes. No big deal. Okay, this boat is only 8 feet off the water and there are 12-foot waves.
I don't think you have 10 minutes.
It's going like this, okay?
Oh, lovely.
The railing is this wide on the boat. I'm sitting in the seat right next to the railing. The back of my head feels like it's wet. Okay?
Oh, this is not good.
I'm drunk.
This is not good in any direction.
Okay. Officer gig leaves. Shit. That's the captain's boat. I guess we're waiting again. What's taking him so damn long? What's taking him so damn long? We've been here 20 minutes. What's taking him so damn long? Still.
Yeah.
50-minute drive, 50 minutes out on the water in this. I get on the ship. First thing you do is you climb onto this ladder and you go up 1 deck. No, 2 decks from the 3rd deck to the 1st. And I'm not only loaded at this point, I'm seasick.
Oh, this is not good.
And the passageway from the boat deck to the hangar deck, I touched the bulkheads on both sides to keep myself steady.
Yes.
Didn't matter that they were 14 feet apart.
Oh, yeah. That would be a problem.
So I did touch both sides.
Eventually.
I was fortunate enough not to touch both sides of the hangar bay.
Yes. That could have been bad.
And the problem with where I lived on the ship was my berthing was at forward of hangar bay 1. Well, I'm standing at the tail end of hangar bay 3.
Oh, boy. That's a walk.
That's a walk. So I finally get down to the other end and I climb down 2 ladders. Well, I climbed down the first ladder. I started into the berthing. I rolled down the ladder into my berthing. Fortunately, my bunk was at the bottom of the ladder. So all I had to do was pick myself up. I wasn't hurt. And pour myself into my rack. And that was St. Thomas.
Oh, wow. So how many more times did you have to creatively find your way back to your bunk?
That's why I picked the one at the bottom of the ladder.
Yes. That'll do it.
Okay. Nobody wanted that bunk because, all the traffic comes right by there.
Yeah, that'll.
But it was perfect for me.
Yeah, it was it was in stumbling distance to where I needed to be. Yes.
And then we went off on a 3-week cruise to, I don't even remember where it was, but we were out for 3 weeks. And we came back for a month and we left for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Where I looked like this. There's
What happened? Just kidding.
25 years?
Yeah, that'll do it.
30 years.
Every
This
time.
is 30 years now.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Those stripes are seaman stripes because you go through seaman recruit, seaman apprentice, seaman, and then you get third class and second class.
Okay.
I made it. And we went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and did our thing. And I've told a story about how we were reported sunk by the Iraqi news agency via the BBC.
Oh, well, that's good. So how does the bottom of the Persian Gulf look?
Soggy.
Okay.
But we went through the Suez Canal on the way down. We arrived late on station. And then, thanks, Captain Trek. And then we beat Iraq. And we proceeded to go back through the Suez Canal. We left on the 28th of December of 1990. We hit our first port on the 25th of March.
Well,
then we hit our next port on the 25th of May, which was Haifa, Israel.
okay. How is that?
Dangerous.
That good, huh?
No. I often tell the story of the ladies at the Italian restaurant at the Panoramic Center in Haifa.
Okay.
They look like twin sisters.
Oh.
And let me tell you, there aren't a whole lot of ugly ladies in Israel.
Okay.
These two look like twin sisters. So somebody inquired. One was 36, and she was the mother of her twin-looking 14-year-old daughter.
Oh, wow. Well, that'll do it.
You know, I was married at the time. I was sitting on a phone, the busiest intersection in Haifa, Israel, listening to my wife in Indianapolis yelling at me about how I wrecked the car.
Oh.
Not quite sure how that happened, being 12 time zones away.
Well, yeah. So how exactly did you wreck the car? Did you drive it off the carrier, or am I missing something somewhere?
God. So we went to Rhodes, Greece, which is another beautiful port, and got back on the 25th or 28th of June of 1991, where we spent our 30 days in port, and then off down the Elizabeth River we go to 6 months of dry dock.
Oh, lovely.
Now, I will tell you, Robert had made a comment about it being a boat. It was a boat after dry dock. I have been to the top of that thing doing a fire watch on my first tour to the shipyard on the 015 level. I have seen an aircraft carrier from the bottom. I know what the bottom of an aircraft carrier looks like. I've been underneath it. Been to almost every space in there except weapons lockers and reactor rooms. 3 years on a carrier makes it a boat.
Yes. It's like everything else, right? Something, at first is a little
daunting,
disorienting, but once you get the hang of it, it's just second nature.
It was during the second shipyard period, the dry dock period, that I took my second class test, and I called Washington for new orders. And my new orders came in. I said I wanted to stay an extra month on the ship because I wasn't going to chase test results all over the fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me 3 choices: Fort Meade, Maryland, Naples, Italy, and the Air Force Base in Tampa. I don't remember the name of it. And I had to call the detailer back, and I said, still got a problem with getting a top secret clearance. She goes, okay, well, we'll cross, let's see, we'll have to cross off the MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. Okay. We'll have to cross off Fort Meade, Maryland. Okay. Still got Naples. And we're going to have to cross off Naples. I'll get back to you in a week. Okay. So my choice of orders came in, and I've got Cleveland, Ohio, and Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, I guess you're going to Cleveland, Ohio.
It was right then and there that I decided that the Navy hated me, and that's why when I get my 2 years in Cleveland, I left. But my job in Cleveland was to be a data processing technician at the finance center, where my job was to sit at a desk and punch a few keys and make sure I got paid.
Well, there you go.
You know, all we did was payroll and personnel. I calculated my paychecks.
No, you should have added in a 0 or 2.
Yeah, well, could
They frown upon that, I take it. Yeah, just a little bit.
You know, just like a sailor frowns upon it when his paycheck bounces.
Oh yes, I would assume. That would not be a.
I've actually gone through that. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, well, hold on. The United States Navy has bounced a check.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like that should be guaranteed money. It's coming from the government.
Well, okay, but in the United States, they have to pass a budget.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that.
And if they didn't pass the budget, they go, we got no money. Oh, wait a minute. He's still running paychecks. This is going to be ugly.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh, that could be bad.
And those of you who live in the United States know that, you know, the United States has been running a hell of a deficit and has been for 100 and something years. So they never run out of money.
No.
Except when they don't pass a budget and don't have any money to give out.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm
the government goes through 2 types of finances. 1, we're broke, but we can borrow money. Or 2, there's no budget passed, so we can't borrow money.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely.
No, it wasn't a debt ceiling thing. It's, you know, political parties arguing over what should and shouldn't be in the budget.
Oh, yes.
You know, you don't pass a budget by October 1st, then...
So how many sailors sent a letter saying, here's what should be in the budget? My fucking check.
I don't know, but...
Or I'm going to randomly misplace this fighter craft I have, or I fly daily.
But how do you explain to the landlord that your paycheck bounced?
Well, there's that, especially when you're in the middle of nowhere.
No, I'm stationed in Cleveland.
Oh, okay. Well,
I gotta pay my rent.
Bad.
I pay my rent here. Boing. Oh.
They're not going to.
Well, that's bad.
Take it up with the senator.
And of course, what do you get from your landlord when you tell him that your paycheck bounced? You work for the Navy. How is that fucking possible?
Our government are assholes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's always lovely. Yeah, you'd think that'd be like guaranteed, right? Like
You would think.
bank on it, set your clock to it. Yeah.
Well, it's
Kind of
happened to me
thing.
twice.
Oh,
And the Navy has to, and the federal government has to go, yeah, that was our fault. So Parrot head.
oh yeah.
Uh-huh. We'll get to the nuclear vessels here in a minute. But, it's little things like that you go, okay. Yeah.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. And these are the, and I mean, okay, I will tell you, I because of timing, I have a, shall we say, boatload of things that I can hang on my uniform. Technically, this makes me, these make me eligible for the Veterans of Foreign Wars, but that doesn't mean anything to me. Yada. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I tell people that my son was a week old when I shipped off for the and this is what it looked like. I'll get to this here in a minute. But my son was a week old when I shipped off for 3 weeks, and he was 2 months old when I shipped off for 6 months for Desert Storm.
Oh wow.
And I keep getting the question, well, why did you go if your son was? I'm like, okay. I worked in an office building. My office building left.
Yeah.
My employer tends to frown on it when you miss it.
Yes.
They give you a new address if you do it right. If you do that, they give you a new address. It's in Kansas.
And they've got big clinky gates.
I don't want to go to Kansas.
No.
But when I went to Cleveland, I had 8 of these 9 ribbons that you see here. This one here on the end I didn't have because they hadn't issued it yet.
Okay.
And for those of you who want to know, Navy Achievement Medal, Joint Meritorious Unit Commendation for the ship, Navy Unit Commendation for the ship, Battle Efficiency Awards, National Defense, which everybody still gets to this day, Southwest Asia Campaign Medal, Desert Shield, Desert Storm Provide Comfort, Sea Service Deployment, which means I didn't see my home port for 90 days, and this one is the Liberation of Kuwait Medal from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Well, I show up in Cleveland with this rack on my uniform, and the chief goes, well, what are all those ribbons? I was on Theodore Roosevelt. We were in Desert Storm. What's the problem? And he goes, well, that's more ribbons than I've got. And I've been in 20 years, and you've been in what, 3? I'm like, yeah. He goes, why do you have so many ribbons? Wrong place, wrong time, Chief.
Yep.
I call it the fuck of the draw.
Yeah, pretty much. I was at sea. You were not.
So, did that explain enough for you there, Bird of Prey? Because he asked what the ribbons.
Yes.
Although
you should tell him what you think of. What you really think of that secondary medal to the right.
Oh, let me bring that one back up
because I killed over laughing when you explained the medal rack.
Okay, let's just bring up the medals. If my computer will cooperate.
Well, there's that.
Now, this is just the medals. It starts here for the Navy Achievement Medal. I got that for a beneficial suggestion to keep track of shipyard work while we were in the dry dock. And I guess you can say that I got that one for introducing a computer virus to the entire ship.
Well, helpful one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
National Defense Medal is next, that everybody gets. Southwest Asia Service, I have 3 stars on mine. This big, ugly, gaudy thing is the Liberation of Kuwait Medal from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. When we first got it, it's real gold, it's real silver, it's real ugly. And it's real. And then the last one here is, for some reason, Kuwait issued their medal after Saudi Arabia did. So I got a Liberation of Kuwait medal from Kuwait that came in after San Diego, or after Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay.
So, and they have to go in that particular order.
Ah, okay. So they have to go in the order given, correct?
Well, they have an order of precedence on them.
Oh, okay.
This one goes before this one. The Navy Achievement Medal goes, or there's a Navy Commendation Medal. It goes above the Navy Achievement Medal, and yada yada.
Yeah.
And foreign awards are always last. So
Bird of Prey 5 says Kuwait didn't use real gold.
no, I don't even think they used real bronze.
Yeah, probably not. And just spray paint it, it'll be fine. Nobody'll notice. Welcome, Orville Nation.
Yes, welcome, Orville Nation. Listening to Richard just babble.
Yes. Okay, so now there's a story about how you ended up between a bulkhead and a F-16.
F-14, yes.
F-14, yes. Yes, I think you should tell that story.
As a data processing technician, we were just data entry people, but my lieutenant got it in his head that we were going to connect a network throughout the ship to connect PCs, because in 1991 PCs were all the rage, and were starting to be all the rage. So everybody was getting one, but there was no network for them. So we had to run network cable throughout the ship. And I was laying on a steam pipe up in the 03 level. Remember when I said that the flight deck is the 04? I've got this much clearance between my nose and the overhead, which is what we call ceilings, which happens to be the opposite side of the flight deck. And when you've been on a carrier long enough, you begin to know which birds are hitting the deck by the noise they make. They all look like they're gliding in, and most of them. Now, while they're not a gentle landing, and the early FA-18s sounded like when they hit the deck, they were falling out of the sky.
So they landed with a bit of a thud.
But I don't care what anybody says. When you've got several tons of airplane coming across a metal deck, it does bow a little.
A little bit.
And I'm watching the deck, and I look down, and I'm pulling these cables, laying back, I'm pulling these cables, and all of a sudden the deck goes. Mm-hmm. I could tell by the sound that it was a 14 that hit the deck.
That was lovely.
So I've actually well, I had a 14 on my nose at one point, I guess you could say.
Yeah, there you go. You did one hell of a balancing act.
But I'll tell you what, I'm glad they didn't send airplanes off on Cat 3 that day, because I was on that steam pipe.
Oh, that would have been a little warm.
So,
yeah, that would have been a little warm.
Parrot Head, the computers that we had in our shop, the non-PCs, we called them Anyuk 65s. We had 7 mainframes. When I got back from the war, my wife at the time, my mother, my son, my father and stepmother were all in Norfolk waiting. And we came in on a Friday, and on Sunday, I'm taking him a tour of the ship, and I go into my shop, and my mother looks into the computer room because they weren't allowed in the computer room. No classified data anywhere, but they weren't allowed in the computer room. And she looked through the door and she went, "My God, those were old when I was in high school."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And my lieutenant was standing right behind her. And he goes,
Oh,
not that.
Wait. There is a story you do have to tell because Bird is in the chat and I think it'll make him die of laughter. So you must explain to the audience your wonderful idiot who wanted Word.
Oh, yeah.
Bird, you're going to laugh your ass off.
I was classified as the microcomputer database administrator on board the ship, which meant everything that had to go through PCs went through me, through our shop, automated data processing. And I get this phone call from the S2 division. S2 is enlisted mess. And he's like, "I need WordPerfect installed on this machine down here." Okay, I'll be down in a few minutes. And here I do. I go bopping down with brand new copy of WordPerfect. No big deal. And I go in there and he says, I said, which PC do you want it on? He goes, "No, I want it on that." And I'm like, wait a minute. That's a Smith Corona word processor. Yeah. Install WordPerfect on it. I can't because that's what it's designed to do is word processing. Well, no, I want word processing. I'm like, it's not a computer. I can't do that. So my lieutenant comes down and has a rather heated discussion that you could hear through the mess decks about how the lieutenant in the mess decks was an idiot trying to install WordPerfect on a word processor. And the mess lieutenant telling the computer lieutenant that he's an idiot because he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm like, okay, this. Finally, supply officer Suppo shows up, commander. "What's all the noise in here?" And my lieutenant goes, he's wanting Petty Officer Simpson here to install WordPerfect on that machine. And the Suppo looks at it and goes, "That's a typewriter, you fucking idiot." It can't be done. Well, the mess lieutenant changed his tune all of a sudden.
Oh, yes. Yes. All of a sudden, you're absolutely correct. It cannot be done.
It cannot be done.
And Bird of Prey 5 says you should have just said done.
No, because mess lieutenant was I often say this, those who think they know it all are very annoying to those of us who do.
Yes, there is that.
Okay. And I'm trying to explain to this guy that it's a typewriter. It doesn't work that way.
But I went word perfect. Oy. That always makes me laugh.
Another wonderful point in my history was right before New Year's Eve, 1990. We're off the coast of the Azores. We're going to have some training, missile training.
Oh, this should be fun.
the people firing at us are the Germans, which, as I recall, in 1990, they were on our side.
Yeah.
And the first thing they say is, okay, everybody go to general quarters, just in case.
What, their toenail slips and they actually send the missile or what?
No, they sent 6 missiles at us live.
Oh, well, that's promising.
Okay. Fortunately, we got one of them.
Well, that's good.
Our support ship got the other 5. But anyway, they say, okay, everybody go to general quarters. All right, we're all at general quarters. Okay, no big deal. Cool. And this is the captain. For this exercise, we want everyone who is at general quarters on the starboard side to go to the port side. Okay. Well, little Seaman Simpson here has got headphones on. I'm a sound powered telephone talker.
Mhm.
I have a 30-foot cable between me and this little plug in the wall. And because the other side of the ship in my unit locker was the Exos passageway, guess what's not on the other side? A sound-powered telephone jack.
Yeah.
So there were 3 of us still stuck on the starboard side.
Oh, so this is good. So
All by ourselves.
yeah. So if something goes wrong, your ass is grass.
I'm like, but I can't go to the port side. Well, just try and get as far from the bulkhead as you can, or starboard bulkhead as you can. Are you aware I'm attached to the damn wall?
Well, yeah.
General quarters is battle stations.
Yep.
Berthing is where you sleep. So during this firing exercise, I'm tucked behind a fire hose with a cable stretched between me and all the way across the passageway into the next passageway, trying to stay as far away from the starboard side as I could.
Yeah.
And we successfully got out of that exercise.
Well, that's good. That would have been a crying shame.
It was a couple of days later, we lost an EA-6B.
Which is?
Radar jamming plane.
Oh, and how did you exactly lose it?
He's coming in for a landing, and what people don't realize is when you come in for a landing on an aircraft carrier, as soon as you hit that deck, you have a tail hook. It grabs a wire on the deck.
Yes.
As soon as you hit that deck, instead of throttling down, you go full throttle.
Okay.
In case you miss the cable.
Yes.
And you can take right back off.
Yes.
He hooked number 2 wire. He starts throttling down. Cable snaps. Plane goes drink.
Oh, darn. Well,
oops.
That would be a successful way to lose an aircraft. Yeah.
We saved all 4 guys in it. There's no big, there's no loss of life, just $40 million airplane.
No biggie. Get one of those on Tuesday.
It landed on that 3-mile land. It landed on that 3-mile land below.
Yeah. It's down there somewhere. I know we put it there somewhere.
I know there's some fish that are enjoying that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. So, how about the time that you had to watch them fish a propeller out of the water? Prop, should I say?
I didn't watch that one, but every carrier-born pilot, aviator is what they call them. Every naval aviator has to have time on carrier quals, and the carrier quals are scheduled for each ship. I believe it was come to think of it, I believe it was the America. Her island caught fire.
Oh, well, that's bad.
So we had to go for carrier quals for the America. Spur of the moment thing.
Oh, yes.
Well, very hard to run a ship without a bridge.
Just a little bit.
We had to do carrier calls for the Saratoga because she started taking on water in Pensacola.
Ships are not supposed to do that.
No. And then JFK, one of her screws fell off at the pier.
Exactly how does the screw fall off?
I don't think I want to know.
How much of a fuck up does that got to be? Pardon my French. That you lose a screw.
Well, it just
because they're not very small.
No. A propeller on a Nimitz class carrier like Theodore Roosevelt was 22 feet across.
Yeah.
And there are four.
That's not something that just goes bye-bye.
No.
That involves a very high level of stupidity, I would assume.
So we had to do carrier calls for Kennedy when one of her screws fell off. Yours truly opened fire on the USS America one time by mistake.
And how, pray tell, did you do that as a data personnel?
I'm carrying a fire bottle across the flight deck, and I dropped it. And it landed. And I'm not sure how it did this, but it landed nozzle first.
Oh.
And that nozzle broke off that fire bottle, and it went whoosh.
Okay.
We were at Pier 12 South. It didn't quite make it to Pier 11 North because the USS America was in the way.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
This boom as it bounced off the hull.
Oh, well. Did you just tell him you were trying to send him a friendly wake-up call?
I never realized that carrier would echo like that when you hit the side like that, but
apparently it can.
Apparently it can. And, you know, little things like, yeah. Little things like getting into, you always hear the arguments. It was made in, it's been made in movies before. Fighter jocks make movies, attack jocks make history.
Yeah.
And while we were in the dry dock, I had one A6 jock and one F-14 jock as officers in the office. And they're arguing back and forth. And they did this all the time. Well, the office that we were in when it was in the officers, or is in the captain's passageway.
Okay.
The blue tile, as we call it. Or called it at the time. And all of a sudden, they're just arguing back and forth. And the lieutenant in there is, he flew Orion, so, you know, he was just there. All of a sudden, the skipper pokes his head in. He goes, I fly Hornets. I got you both beat. And the XO's right behind him. He goes, don't look at me. I do the same thing. And they walk right down the passageway. And I never heard a word out of those officers. Because Captain Abbott was very much involved in the creation of the Hornet.
Oh, okay.
So apparently, from what I understand, his brother and his father were involved in the actual creation of the Hornet, and he was one of the test aviators.
Oh.
So he was very fond of the Hornet.
Probably, yeah. Just a tad.
Our XO during the war, Captain Christensen, he was a helo jock. Big guy. Only fit in a helo.
Probably, yeah.
We had this TV show every night. It was called the Bully Big Stick Show. It was the command master chief, the skipper, and usually the XO. And you'd get questions submitted. And one question, he looked at it, Command Master Chief Baker looked at it and he goes, I'm going to give this one to Commander Christensen, or Captain Christensen. And Captain Christensen looked at it, he goes, okay, I'll answer this. Question. When they have supersonic flybys, Why don't they include the FA-18? And Captain Christensen says, because I didn't know they could. And Command Master Chief sits here, Captain's sitting here, XO's sitting here, and you saw this hand go from behind the Command Master Chief.
Oh, lovely.
Because you didn't pick on Captain Abbott's bird.
No, you didn't. No, that'd be a bad idea.
But I it's little things like this that you carrier life is fun. It really is. All these things that you see on TV, they do this. Yes, they do serve 6,000 meals at a time because there are 6,000 people on a carrier on the Nimitz class.
Yeah.
Now the Ford class apparently has only 4,000 people on it. Yes, they do mounds and mounds and mounds of laundry. Yes, they have ship stores. For some reason, the ship's store and the ship's post office on Theodore Roosevelt, if you're standing in line and in the passageway along the bulkhead, there are dosimeters every 6 feet, which leads me to believe that the reactor is somewhere close.
Oh, well, yeah, that would tend to tell you that. So, did any of your mail ever glow?
There was one berthing space that I'm walking down this passageway, and it's the entrance to the reactor room, which I wasn't allowed in, or it's near the reactor room. And I'm down in this passageway looking at running some network cable, and I notice that there's this sign on the wall, bright yellow sign that says "No berthing in this area," and a radioactive symbol. And I turn immediately around from this sign and look at the entrance to a berthing.
Oh, well, why pay attention to signs? Just get in the way.
Little things like that.
Yes, and you did tell me about the one time the Army decided that one of their aircraft needed to be on your boat.
Yes, Army sent some OV-10s over for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen an OV-10. They are funny little birds. And they don't fly real high, and they don't fly real fast, and they don't fly real far.
These are not in their capabilities.
So the Army, trying to get them overseas, decided that, hey, we got a carrier going that way. Can it take them? And OV-10s, the problem with Army birds and Air Force birds, for that matter, are that they're not designed to be carrier borne. They don't have the hook to hook them onto the shuttle, so you can't catapult them because, well, they're not designed. There's not a whole lot of land-based catapults.
No.
So we're carrying
about the 15th century.
we're carrying these Army birds. I think we had 10 of them overseas for them. Now we're trying to do carrier crawls around these things because you can't park them in the hangar bay. They don't. The wings don't fold.
No.
So we've got them. They're moving them around the deck. They brought them to the pier and craned them up to the flight deck. That's how, as dumb as this sounds, when you're coming back into port, the last two things you do before you come into a port, into your home port, is throw away all the food that you have on board, because most of it's foreign. So you throw it all away, throw it overboard, and you launch all your aircraft. You do not have any aircraft on the deck when you come into the pier. Well, when we came back from a cruise one time, they decided that the Today Show was going to come out and broadcast live from our deck. And the Navy, in their infinite wisdom, said, yeah, we need airplanes up here. So out comes this crane, and out comes a 14, and out comes an 18, and they crane them up on the deck. Well, they crane these OV-10s. When they launched these OV-10s, they got everything off the flight deck, or at least out of the way, and set these OV-10s all the way at the aft end of the deck with the back wheels almost in the netting, and just sent them the entire 1,092 feet to the other end and hope they had enough speed and lift to get off that deck.
Or you lose another bird.
You lose another bird. So, yeah, but it's fun watching. And you could always and when you're at sea at that time, they had flight deck television all the time. ILARTs is what they call it. And they're watching the takeoffs. And a 14 will go off the deck and it'll go like this. And an 18 will go off the deck and, its little thing. And even an S3, anti-submarine bird, goes off, and the C3 or C2s, the cargo planes, they go off the deck and
oh boy.
they kind of fall off the deck and then they go airborne.
Yeah, you hope.
Like that scene in Star Trek Beyond where he's aiming for the ground. It's kind of like what C2 does.
Gonna make it shit.
So
yeah, that'll do it.
These little things that one of the things I'm going to do while I'm thinking about it is, for those of you who have military experience, get with Canuck and I, and we want to, Robert and I, sorry, force of habit.
At least it wasn't me that did it.
Huh? Yeah,
At least it wasn't me that did it.
Get with Robert and I, and we want to hear those stories.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
because it'd be nice to be able to do. It's nice to go far back in history, but it's also, I think, important to look back in the not so distant history, because that really is forming what we're dealing with now. Not so much the pandemic, but just world views, world politics, etc. To explain that, you have to know what came before. Well, directly what was before, there are people that could tell you because they were there. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure Richard will agree with me. What we read in books and how things actually were are usually not particularly the same.
No.
Because in books, they could sugarcoat shit.
Yes, they can. And there are things that they conveniently leave out because some people will find them
insulting.
Well, no, I mean, let's face it. There are some of the stories that I have shared here today that most people would go, well, nobody be interested in that. That can't happen. That's too far-fetched. Really?
Or we really want the American people to know that we take care of our Navy, and telling them that a screw fell off an aircraft carrier, probably not the best thing to do.
Yeah, one of the things that they harp on us all the time when I was in the Navy was operational security, OPSEC. Okay, fine. Never tell anybody the ship's movement schedule. Don't do it. Do not let the world know where the ship's going to be at any particular time. And then you hear the captain on the 1MC, the intercom that goes throughout the entire ship, telling the entire world, because you can hear the 1MC all over the naval station, exactly what cruises are coming up.
Oh, well, that's helpful. So you're not allowed to, but he can. Yeah, because nobody's going to argue with him, right?
No. He left the fleet as a 3-star admiral. So, But it's the little stories that people go, that can't happen. Well, yeah, it can.
It probably has.
Probably has. You just you never realize little things like in the Navy. The idea is to keep the water outside.
Yeah, that's generally the idea.
Okay. So what they tell you is if you have a space that's flooding, we do not have rooms on the ship, we have spaces. If you have a space that's flooding, you open the hatch and you throw a pump in to pump the water out. And before you pump the water out, you hook up 2 fire hoses to it. One to the input and one to the output. Because to dewater a space, you have to pump water into it.
Well, that's always good.
Because if you pump 125 psi of water in, the pump sends 250 psi out.
Well, okay, that makes sense.
So every bit of the water that you're pumping in comes out plus part of the water that's already in there. And I'm like, well, that kind of just sounds like it's defeating the purpose.
Stealing from Peter to pay Paul.
And some guy was trying to explain to me, we were putting in a new sump pump here in the house, and we got a water powered one. Well, you know how let me explain to you how this works. I said, I've been in the Navy. I know how this works. You pump water in, it takes twice as much water out. Yeah. Well, but it's as dumb as it sounds. It actually works. You have oxygen breathing devices that everybody wore at general quarters.
Yes.
These little canister things. You don't put them in the OBA until you need them. Important. Second, do not get the canisters wet. Okay. Getting them wet is bad.
But I'm surrounded by water.
Yeah. It's like they installed new battery backup systems in the computer room at one point, and they were a bunch of motorcycle batteries in a big box, and the guy who's telling us how it works says, okay, the first thing you need to know is that the power comes in here. If the power gets disrupted, the batteries kick in. Okay, that's cool. Second, do not get them wet with seawater or salt water. Wait a minute. Can I give you a quick geography lesson here, sir? We are on the 4th deck. The water line's at the 3rd. Most of the time, this thing's in salt water. He says, well, theory is not to get them wet. And I'm like, yeah.
Practically ain't happening.
Or the time it rains in the computer room.
That could be bad.
The entire ship is fed with chill water air conditioning. And because of the way ships are designed, the air conditioning comes from this overhead. There are no on the deck. That would be kind of defeating the watertight purpose. Computer room, hot computers. Power goes out. Chill water goes out. AC goes out. Now it's getting hot in computer room.
Ooh.
Humidity's going up because, well, that's what happens.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Hour later, power comes back up. Then the AC kicks in. Now, remember what I said about it being any overhead? Cold water, cold air hits humidity, humidity drops, and then the water drops.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay, so now it's raining in the computer room.
There might be a small technical issue with that. Computers don't like water much. Oy.
But hey, you know,
Yeah.
it's like the guy who broke one of our secondary mainframes because, well, come to find out that the same processor that's used in the mainframes,
Yeah.
the same one is used in the Nintendo NES.
Oh, well. I take it he needed spare part.
So,
Lovely.
yeah. But this, I mean, little things like, and anybody who's been in the military can tell you, little things like this that are absolutely hilarious happen
Yeah.
all the freaking time. So,
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. So I've been Robert Knowles.
and I'm Richard Simpson.
And I want to thank everyone in chat. I want to thank everybody for coming. Share it out. Help us out here, grow the channel a little bit. But thank you all for being here. A little bit of, I guess, channel news on History with R&R. There's a first. Well, second, but we'll say first. This Friday will be the first battle of will be the first video for the second battle of the Somme. Next Tuesday, the radio show will drop at 7:15, which is something new and interesting that we all hope that you enjoy. Also, please, if when you watch that video, please stay till the end because there's two little surprises at the end that I think you'll all like. And then the following Tuesday, the live stream will return. So we're going to alternate. So one Tuesday, it will be a live stream. Next Tuesday, it'll be a video. And then on the Fridays, we'll just carry on whatever series we're doing. So for the next 2 weeks, it'll be the second battle of the Somme.
I'm Richard Simpson. I'd like to thank you for watching History with R&R Live. And please, like he said, check out the radio show because I guess this means I have to write another script, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I better get to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, check out the radio show. It was real fun to do, and it sounds really good.
Yes.
And as I am like to say at the end of this, thank you and good night.